Hey, Greg, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to give you a text when we're live.
Oh, goody.
You just give me a wave. Okay. I didn't see the text, so we're live.
Okay. So welcome to the San Ramon Valley Unified School District Board of Education meeting. We want to let the public know that we are video recording tonight's board meeting. The recording is being live streamed on the district's YouTube channel, and a link to the recording has been posted to the district's website. So I would also like this opportunity to introduce the board members that are here tonight. First of all, I am Greg Marvel. I am president of the school board. I'd like to introduce Mark Jewett, if you'll raise your hand, Mark. Mark is our vice president of the board. And then Susanna Ordway, if you'll raise your hand. She is clerk of the board. And then we have Rachel Hurd, member of the board, and Ken Mintz, member of the board. There we go. All right, so we're now going to report actions taken in closed session. Item 6.1, we took the following actions during closed session unanimously to approve the following administrative appointments effective July 1, 2020. Marina Salazar as our new principal at Alamo Elementary, Meredith Bullock, our new principal for Golden View Elementary, Elizabeth Lyons, our new principal at Montevideo Elementary, Kelly Watson, our new principal at Walt Disney Elementary, Jennifer Torres, our new principal at Gale Ranch Middle School, Andrew Briggs, our new principal at Los Cerros Middle, and Jenny Cordes, our program supervisor, special education. Again, the votes were unanimous. Okay, and then next item is Pledge of Allegiance, please, if you'll join me in our virtual Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag
United
of the United
States of America
and
and to the republic for which it stands,
Under God,
one nation,
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
with liberty,
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. We're on to item 7, acceptance of minutes of 7.1, minutes of April 14th. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second,
There's a motion and a second. It looks like, who did the first? Mark, and then the second was Susanna. All right, we're moving on. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. 8.1, acceptance of open session agenda. Do I have a motion?
so moved,
That's
Second.
Ken,
so moved.
and Rachel is seconding. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. 8.2, approval of consent agenda. Mr. Roginski, you have an addendum?
Yes, actually not an addendum, President Marvel, just a clarification. So on items 12.8 and 12.9, which are the proposed job descriptions for the new Assistant Superintendent for Business Operations and Facilities and for Chief Business Officer, what I want to point out is that in the cover sheet to the item, in the section on budget implications, in both places, I indicated that we would be eliminating the Executive Director of Business Services position. We all know that that's Mr. Hillman's position, that his duties have been threaded into what will now be his new position as Assistant Superintendent, and there's been some redistribution of duties between that position and Mr. Medici's position as Chief Business Official. In both cases, on both sheets, I indicated that there would be a $250,000 savings per year, and I just want to clarify for the board and for the public that we are eliminating one position at a savings of $250,000 per year, not two.
Got it. Okay, any questions on that clarification from board members? Okay, so for the public watching tonight, consent items are considered routine in nature and are approved by combining them into a single vote. A member of the board or a member of the public may request that a consent item be removed from the consent agenda to be considered and voted on separately. Ken?
Yeah, Greg, just one quick question for Keith on what he just clarified. Maybe to clarify that is one position, total compensation. It's not just salary, $250,000.
Salary, health and welfare benefits, and statutory costs. Yes, salary-driven costs, all combined.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Cindy, did we receive any requests to have items removed from consent from the public?
We did not.
Okay, hearing that, I'm going to, I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Ken, second, first, made the motion, is second?
Second.
Okay, Susanna seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries unanimously. And Ken?
No, we didn't have any ratification of warrants this time. So
Okay, so we're
I'm
fine. We're fine on your issue. All right, we're
Thank
moving
you.
on to, on here. Okay, president's comments. We have one president's comments that was, oh, I apologize. Day of the Teacher, May 8th, 9.1.
If I could, Mr. Marvel, I'd like to just combine 9.1 and 9.2. The board is aware that May is traditionally Employee Appreciation Month in this district and in most districts. May of 2020 is no exception. This week we are celebrating Day of the Teacher, and at many sites there are recognition events going on among staff and between groups and those types of things with staff throughout the week. The third week of this month is Classified School Employee Week, so that's between the 17th and the 23rd of May. Both of these events are annual recognitions that are held in honor of all of the effort and contributions of our certificated and classified employees to supporting the education and well-being of children in this valley and throughout the state of California. So we just wanted to remind the board of those two events and thank those all of our employees, certificated and classified, for everything that they do day in and day out in support of kids. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Moving on, 9.3.
Hey, Greg.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. Just want to take the opportunity on these two items particularly is to remind the folks that may have just tuned into our broadcast here, may listen to it later, is earlier this afternoon, we did have a recognition of some of our top classified folks. And just wanted to point that out. If people have an opportunity to go back and watch that video, we really want to recognize folks who are doing just a tremendous job for us. But when we tie that with the Classified Employee Week as well as our Day of the Teacher, I think it's just a tremendous opportunity for us to give them a special thanks for what everyone is going through during this very difficult time, different kind of working conditions and bringing back to the classroom, not the, now a virtual classroom as opposed to, face-to-face, trying to do our best to continue to educate our kids and to do it safely. And I want to make sure that our community realizes the effort that these folks have been putting out for us and want to thank them all and hope they all remain safe as we continue to all do our jobs as well as do what's best for our kids. So I want to thank all of our teachers and classified through these two.
Thank you.
Activities.
Well said, Ken. Also, that meeting it was a virtual meeting, just so if people understand, we did not meet in public in person. It was a virtual meeting that started at 4:30, and it was it certainly can't take the place of thanking them in person, but it's as close as we can get at this time. So thank you, Ken, for those good comments. We're going to now go to 9.3, public comment on non-agenda items. We have received 10 comments regarding graduation. Michael Walker, Jennifer Perizarro, Emily Westmore, Maureen Montenson, I'm butchering that name, I apologize. Tiffany Price, Carrie Fong, Chris McClarty, CV Reader, Denise Geist, and Jennifer and Ron Robinson. We also had one comment regarding remote learning from Len Schultz. All of those comments were forwarded to each of the board members. We have reviewed them and we've also forwarded them to the superintendent. Superintendent, if you'll give us a brief overview of what you intend to do with these comments.
Yes, so all 11 of those comments coming from our community, and we appreciate thoughts and feedbacks, recommendations and concerns. Staff will contact by the end of the week, all 11, the 10 comments on graduation, personally be in touch with those individuals, as well as the one comment which gave us some feedback on our remote learning this spring.
Thank you.
Hey, Rick, I'm sorry. I know we can't address this, but there was a common theme running through the graduation. Can we at least address, to the best of our knowledge, what local school districts, namely Pleasanton, are not going to be doing?
Sure, I'd be glad to do that. So we spent some time over the last couple of weeks engaging our community and talking to our principals. We met with large groups of students actually last week as well, and got some comments on them, and have talked to PTA leaders and Ed Fund leaders as well. So what we are attempting to do is a combination of virtual celebrations and a soon to be announced opportunity for students to participate, albeit not a mass gathering, but a very personal approach, and details of that will come out through high school principals in later this week. But what often happens in this world, where folks have great interest and are looking to social media and communicating the way we communicate in the 21st century, often a lot of that communication is not accurate. So, for example, we were told and have communicated that certain school districts, including Pleasanton, actually was going to have an in-person event at the fairgrounds. That is not accurate. In fact, I spoke with the Pleasanton superintendent personally myself yesterday. And so we will address what we are doing, but I just wanted to make our community very aware, for those who are tuned in tonight, that we are following strictly the public health guidelines and directives, and all districts are, in spite of some communication out there in even media, but especially social media, that is not accurate. So from my work with our Alameda County friends and districts and Contra Costa County, as well around the region, as we've tried to do in all things related to the coronavirus reboot, is we are aligned with other districts, especially suburban districts, on how we're celebrating our kids. So to confirm that I'm not aware of any in-person ceremonies this month, that would be illegal, but we are looking at some very small opportunities to celebrate kids, and those details will come out later this week.
Thank you. Okay, we're going on to 9.4, Association President's comments. I have received one comment from one of our three employee association presidents, Ann Katzberg, president of Servia. Dear trustees, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to share my remarks this evening on behalf of our members, the educators of the San Ramon Valley Education Association. Tonight, we are honoring our educators. I want to acknowledge the hard work of each and every employee who is part of the fabric of our school district. Thank you to our CSEA and SEIU bargaining unit members for the work they do to make sure we are all taken care of, and allowing for our educators to do what they do best in meeting the needs of our students. Congratulations to the educators who were honored earlier this evening. You are so deserving of this recognition. It is a beautiful time of year. Our valley is graced with sunshine, beautiful skies, and a quiet essence that reverberates outside our windows. We all know the old adage, you can't judge a book by its cover. Despite the appearance of calm, there is an angst we all feel in facing an invisible condition framing our future. Every day I speak with our educators, we receive a myriad of emails and attend multiple meetings where I am witness to the extraordinary work of my colleagues who have not only shown up to work, but have adapted to the demands of working conditions we weren't prepared for to launch, but have done so with professionalism and grace. I am simply in awe. I have heard the reports in which our school district receives accolades for being highly successful and anointed as one of the top performing schools in our state, if not our nation. It is because of our members who have demonstrated during the most stressful times the caliber of their craft. educators across the nation are being held in high regard for the magic they bestow upon our children as parents and guardians bear witness in their homes to the challenges teachers face in a classroom full of students. I want to publicly acknowledge the tireless efforts our educators are providing on behalf of our students. I want to acknowledge the time and energy it is taking you to develop your lessons, instruct your classrooms, communicate with our parents and students, and to continue to show up every day to your virtual classrooms. My gratitude for the work you do is immense. My admiration for your expertise is heartfelt. My appreciation for your solidarity and devotion to our students is at the core of everything I do. Thank you for being extraordinary educators. We are all so lucky in the San Ramon Valley Unified School District. So thank you for your comments, Anne. We're moving on to action items 10.0. Consideration of approval of resolution 77-/19-20 to designate a specific position as senior management of the classified service. Mr. Roginski.
Thank you, Mr. Marvel. So the board has long identified top-level managers in the classified service of the district under the education code cited on that cover sheet as senior managers of the classified service. Basically, senior managers get all rights, benefits, and burdens of classified employees, paid vacation, paid holidays, paid leaves, et cetera, but they don't have any right to permanency as district employees or permanency in the service of a senior management position. The district, again, has long taken advantage of the opportunity to identify the classified assistant superintendents and the chief business official as senior managers. But when I was looking back at the last time that took place, I couldn't find any evidence that a resolution had been approved back to 2011-12. So now that we are now that we have created a new classified assistant superintendency in business operations and facilities, it gives us the opportunity to basically clean that up. There are no additional positions that are being approved or created as a result of your action this evening. There are no additional costs associated with this action. This is actually an action that benefits the school district rather than the incumbents in those positions. And so we just ask that the board take action this evening to approve the resolution, which identifies the assistant superintendent of human resources, the chief business official, and the newly created assistant superintendency of business operations and facilities as senior managers of the classified service. Thank you.
Okay, any comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll need a motion. Rachel, are you making a motion?
I move approval of the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Susanna is seconding. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Roginski. On to 10.2, consideration of adoption of resolution 79/19-20, designation of applicant agents for non-state agencies. This sounds so exciting. Mr. Medici.
Thank you, President Marvel. This resolution has specifically to do with the district's intent to complete our application for California Offices of Emergency Services available dollars for coronavirus COVID relief. So this resolution will be submitted with the rest of the application, which is an ongoing process. And we have a federal application as well, doesn't tie to this resolution. So in meetings going forward, we may continue to bring information related to these two independent, the California and the federal coronavirus relief.
Okay, any questions from board members? I need a motion.
So moved.
Okay,
So moved.
Ken is making the motion. Rachel is seconding. Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. On to 10.3, consideration of approval of bid award for Montevideo Elementary School, increment 1, parking lot, K-yard, and site improvements. Mr. Hillman.
Hello, Board of Trustees. Thank you for this opportunity this evening. We have a presentation that I'm going to go ahead and ask for Mr. Medici to Mr. Pisser to put up on the screen. A couple of things that I just wanted to be able to run through with you. They apply to all three of the following action items. So what I figured I would do is show you a couple of slides per item, and then I can pause for any questions. And since they're agendized separately, you could then take action if you want to do that, Mr. Marble, or I can go through the whole thing. It's really up to you. But the presentation really covers all three items. So I'll go ahead and jump into it. Let's see if I can advance the slide here from afar. Working on it, just a second here. There we go. So here's just an overview of the three items for anybody who is at home. Items 10.3 is the Montevideo Elementary School increment 1. We have the increment 1 is covering the kinder area. It is covering the parking lot in the back of the school and some additional site improvements. 10.4 is the Stone Valley Middle School parking lot and field renovation. And 10.5 is the San Ramon Valley High School multi-use and softball field improvement. So that being said, if I can go to the next slide. I wanted to make sure that you guys all knew, thank you. I wanted to make sure that you all knew and that the public knew that for these three projects, they're all covered under Public Contract Code 20111. There's a bunch of sections that start with this section, and it all has to do with public bidding. A couple of the takeaways I wanted to make sure you're aware of is that all three projects are considered California Public Works. These projects must be advertised, and there must be a competitive bidding process before awarding any sort of bid to a contractor. The way that the law is written, the district is required to give the lowest responsible bid or bidder, they get the award. That doesn't mean that the lowest price wins all by itself. It means that the bids have to be scrutinized. Our department does that in the facilities department for completeness, for accuracy, and for adherence to all of the different requirements that are in the sections that start with 20111. All the contractors have to be pre-qualified ahead of time in order to bid on our public works projects. And this process for these three projects is the exact same that we have used for all of our public works, whether they're funded out of our maintenance funds or our technology funds or local dollars that we borrow from the community in the form of Measure D from 2012, the previous Measure D or Measure A, or any of our public dollars. We follow this process. This is the scrutiny that we put it under. It's a process that has actually yielded some very good results for our district over the 15, 20 years that we have been asking for dollars from the community. So I wanted to start with that. Next slide, please. So for Montevideo Elementary School, I just wanted to touch very quickly that what is before you this evening and what is being asked for you to approve is a portion of the master plan. So I needed to start with the master plan very quickly. The master plan for Montevideo does call for some additional classrooms eventually for growth. This is one of the few schools that we have left experiencing growth that's targeted. The master plan also is slated to have a new shared kinder and child care play yard and play structure, an improved back parking lot, site work for storm drain improvements, and a new district-owned child care building on the site. Today, we're only reviewing a couple of these items, and I'm going to go over those right now. This is item 10.3. Next slide, please. So the increment 1 scope that is before you is the site work for portable classroom building pads, improved back parking lot with additional vehicle spaces and traffic flow, grading and paving to address storm drain issues. There are a lot of uneven pavement areas causing lots of drainage issues, lots of puddling, which eventually degrade the asphalt over time. We're going to correct all of those things, and improved parking lot lighting. This increment we have scheduled to be completed in August of 2020 prior to the start of school. It was designed that way prior to COVID because we didn't obviously know that was coming. So we will have this portion of the project completed by the time school is supposed to start. So a couple of just shots to show you what's going on here. This is the area overhead of what Montevideo looks like currently. It's actually a little different than this. This is the most recent aerial shot I could get from Google. But there's a couple of things I just want to highlight. One, you can see the parking lot on the left-hand side. The white topped building is the current childcare building, which is aged and needs to be replaced. And the three gray topped buildings are actually portables that the district owns. Those have since been moved last summer off to the blacktop area on the right-hand side of this shot. And then the grassy area and what looks maybe like dirt, because it is dirt, is a former garden. We're gonna renovate all of that area. This is the shared kinder yard, and we're gonna show it with the next slide. You'll see what it will end up like. Here is the new layout. For reference, the orange box in the center is the current childcare location. So you can see we're changing the layout quite a bit. You can see that the parking lot is going to extend between the school buildings and the Iron Horse Trail, north to south. It's going to increase the number of parking spaces, at least 10, but closer to probably 15, depending upon the final layout of some of the spaces and the landscaping. It also allows for additional growth if we needed to add classrooms for the kinder program in the out years. We have the ability to do that. And a new and improved drop-off area, which allows for a flow-through, or you could turn right and park your vehicle, and a drop-off area specifically for kinder in the back of the school, which will help the operations at the school. So I don't think there's one more slide. If you could just check. Yeah, that's the last slide for item 10.3, if you could go back one. Mr. Marvel, would you guys like me to stop here, or would you like me to go through the rest of them?
Let's go through the rest, and then we're going to take the votes individually because they are separate agenda items.
Sounds good. We'll keep going. Item 10.4 is for Stone Valley Middle School. The scope on this project for the summer is the restoration of the play fields and the hard court surfaces that were used during the building construction over the last 2.5, 3 years at Stone Valley. We're going to improve the grass field irrigation, infield surfaces, remove and replace the front parking lot surface, fix the drop-off extension, and align it with the driveway. We needed to do a new trash enclosure, and added ADA improvements all up and down the front of the school, linking the county sidewalk to the parking lot to the drop-off area. This is also scheduled to be completed in August of 2020 because, again, we were expecting school to start mid-month. If we can go to the next slide, I can show you a little bit. This is an older picture, again, from Google, but you can see in this particular picture of about 18 months ago, the new classroom building is the L shape. It's being built still. The MPR is still under construction, and the quad is under construction. These are, of course, all completed now, but you can see the individual portable classrooms that we rented for the duration of the project out on the blacktop area. For those who haven't seen this picture before, that blacktop area used to be a field, and we have to put that field back. And that's essentially what the crux of this project is. The portables are gone. They've been gone since last summer, 2019. And we intend now to go in and get the asphalt out of the way and go ahead and put back in a baseball field. We're going to redo the basketball courts in the bottom center of the picture. Some irrigation to the top fields that you can see in this picture here, and some renovations, slight renovations to the existing baseball infields, in addition to addressing the Stone Valley parking lot, top to bottom, north to south, needs to be resurfaced and some drainage issues taken care of there. We've been driving on it with heavy tractors and equipment now for 2.5, 3 years, and we need to address the work there. So the next slide will give you a layout. It's not a graphic, it's just a line drawing, but you can see the 4 areas and what they will eventually be. I described some of the work already, but it's a challenging project in the sense that it's a tight site, difficult to get in and out of. And so the staging and the sequencing of it, we have a good contractor on board that's presented before you today if you approve. And they are aware of some of those constraints and feel comfortable with the constraints. But we have to be able to do some prep work on the front and do the parking lot at the same time as we're doing the back, but leave our the contractor a way to get out from the field area to the front of the school. So it'll be an interesting project to watch unfold. So that's Stone Valley. And then here's an aerial shot of what it looks like now. This is a drone picture as opposed to a Google shot. You can kind of see the completed campus in the quad. You can see the blue topped roof building is the gym that's been there for a while now. And you can see a giant asphalt patch we did on the blacktop to get through this school year. All of that will be ground up and reused if possible. Anything that's too old will be hauled off the campus. And in the far top left corner of the picture, you can see some storage containers still there that we left for this school year to get them through. But all of that will be removed. And that's the location and the footprint where the third baseball diamond will be restored. Last but definitely not least, item 10.5, Santa Ramon Valley High School fields. There's two things going on here. The first I'm going to discuss is the multi-use field scope. This is a replacement of the old field area with artificial turf. You'll see in the picture, but very similar to Stone Valley Middle School, we needed interim housing while we built the new building at Santa Ramon High. That required paving over the auxiliary field at Santa Ramon High and putting down about 40 portable classrooms. Again, just like Stone Valley, those portable classrooms have been gone since last summer, but the blacktop remains. We are now returning to finish the work. We will be doing game striping for several different sports on this artificial turf field. It will include not only JV, junior varsity baseball and junior varsity softball, but also a lined soccer field, and it will also be lined for lacrosse. We have a fencing system that will prevent any errant balls from baseball, softball, or lacrosse, not so much for soccer, hopefully they're not that errant, from leaving the playing field and going out to Iron Horse Trail or onto the walking path on the school or the parking lot. There's also, we're going to improve some field irrigation and infield surfaces. I'm sorry, a couple of these bullets are for another slide. So we're going to stop after the first 3 bullets. This one should be done in about August of 2020. Next slide. So this is what it looked like last school year. These are the relocatable units we had out there. You can see in the bottom of the picture, the green there is the varsity baseball field for Santa Ramon Valley High School. And you can see the edge of the track kind of peeking into the picture. So it gets you a little bit of bearings. The line of trees across the top of the picture is the Iron Horse Trail. This is the footprint. We're trying to squeeze as much field footprint as we can. It's a very tight space. And we're doing what we think is a very good design given the amount of space that we have. The next slide shows, again, a graphical layout of the different surfaces. You can see it's lined for the 3 sports, 4 if you count softball and baseball being different. And then on the far left-hand side of this particular diagram, you can see the parking stalls as that parking lot has already been completed. And so this is to complement the existing design that's already in place, the parking lot design, the new building design, and we were able to squeeze this back in with a little bit of storage in the top right-hand corner for things like soccer goals, or the outfield fence when not in use can go over into that area outside of the field of play. I think, go one more shot. We have one other field we're doing at the same time. The varsity softball field is in need of some restoration and some improvement. The varsity softball field is the field that is on the Del Amigo Road side of the campus, directly adjacent to Del Amigo High School. For this project, it's new backstop and game fencing, perimeter fencing, again, to prevent the errant balls from leaving the play field. We're improving the grass field and irrigation. This is where this bullet belonged, not on the last slide, I apologize. We're also going to be able to create a formal sidewalk and parking spaces along Del Amigo Road. This is in a partnership with the town of Danville. And that will definitely add ADA improvements and an approach from Del Amigo for those that park there onto our campus. And I wanted to make a note that the scope maintains the 2 remaining infields, which I'll be able to show you in a second. Completion for this is estimated September of 2020. So on the next slide, This is an aerial of the 3 infields at the varsity softball field. Typically, they use the one in the upper left. That's the one that's on the Del Amigo roadside. The other 2 are used for practice infields, and they are used by some community partners, as in a SRVGAL and some other non-school groups. They use the smaller infields. So the next slide will show the layout. We are maintaining the 2 fields. The backstop and the field that we're doing the majority of the work to is, again, the one in the top left corner. You can see the parking stalls are there. We have a sidewalk on the outside of what will be a new fence, new ADA path of travel, bullpens, dugouts, improved field irrigation across the whole field, and it's all regulation. And we tried to squeeze the largest field we could without impacting the other 2 infields so that they can stay there for either community use or for the San Ramon High softball program will be able to utilize more than 1 infield skin at the same time. So I believe that is the last slide.
Okay, so any questions on 10.3? Ken?
Yeah, just a quick comment, and it applies to all 3 projects. I want to thank Mr. Hillman for bringing this forward. Normally, these projects at this point, when we're selecting a bidder or approving a bid, is usually done through our consent calendar. And it seemed appropriate at this point to be able to demonstrate to the community the work that's being done on these sites. And it's hitting 3 different sites, 3 different parts of our district. And it's being done with the dollars that were approved as Measure D back in 2012. So these are some of our final projects out of Measure 12. And so I thought it was a good time for us to be able to spend a little bit more time than we normally would to see the value that our community has given through those generous bond measures that they've approved in the past. I want to thank the Facilities Department as well as the Facilities Oversight Committee that Suzanne and I are liaison to. They all did just a tremendous job, not just on these projects, but on all of the projects that have led up to this point, particularly with San Ramon Valley High School, this being one of the next parts of that project, as well as the restorations of the fields over at Stone Valley as part of that major project as well. So Danny, please share the board's thanks to the rest of your team for really a lot of work over a number of years to really bring these facilities up to speed for us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
All right, no problem. Any other comments from any other board members on 10.3, 10.4, or 10.5? We'll just do all 3.
Question on 10.5. Hey, Danny, on the multi-use field at San Ramon Valley, that's going to be artificial turf. Are baseball games going to be played there? And I guess my question is just thinking through this, the bases, are those going to be real dirt or artificial turf?
The multi-use field at San Ramon is an artificial turf field. And so all of the infields and everything for both softball and baseball are turf. They are not artificial turf. They are not dirt.
But they're practice fields, correct?
That's what I was going to ask. Are games going to be played on those? And
so I normally what happens.
How the AD is.
Sorry. Normally what happens at the program there, because they have really the one really nice baseball field and the one better softball field, is that the coaches and programs there have alternated games so that junior varsity and varsity will play on different days so they can use the same field. During the construction, that's how they've been operating because they didn't have another option. Now they'll have an option where if junior varsity softball wants to hold a game simultaneously, the dimensions of the multi-use field will allow that if they want to do that. For baseball, it is a short porch field for right field. So if you're a left-handed batter, don't tell the public, but if you're a left-handed batter and you come visit us, you'll probably be able to get it over the fence much easier than a right-hander will be able to do. So I would imagine that the baseball program will still want to use the varsity field for all of their league games or any of their championship games or anything like that. This will provide them another field for multiple practices at the same time, which is something they've never really been able to do with any fidelity because of the short porch and a low fence at the Iron Horse Trail.
Yeah, now my comments were just being a Little League coach for a number of years, playing on the Sycamore all turf fields. It's not the same baseball experience to be really honest, without dirt around the bases. I just want to make sure that that's been thought through.
did look at that, and we did talk about that at length, not only among our team and the design team, but also with the site. It is a totally different experience. My son also plays ball and played in TVLL and played up to Sycamore Park. That's their home field, and now plays travel ball. And that is absolutely the experience. It's a completely different, no pun intended, ball game when you're on the different fields.
Sure. Any other comments, questions from board members on 10.3, 10.4, and 10.5? Hearing none, we're going to take these individually. 10.3, which is consideration of approval of bid award for Montevideo Elementary. Is there a motion?
So move.
Mark moved and Ken seconded. Any further questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries. 10.4, approval of bid award to Stone Valley Middle School parking lot and field renovation. Is there a motion?
Approval.
Yeah, Rachel has made the motion. Susanna has seconded. Any further questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries unanimously. 10.5, approval of bid award for San Ramon Valley High School multi-use and varsity softball field improvements. Is there a motion?
So move.
Ken is motioning and Susanna raised her hand. She is seconding. Any further comments or questions? Oh, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
say no. Motion carries unanimously. We're on to 11.0, discussion on information items. 11.1, first reading of revisions to board bylaw 9920, governing board elections. Mr. Medici.
Thank you, Mr. President. This update to the bylaws relates to the district's continuing update and transition under the California Voting Rights Act to by trustee area elections. So the words that are being previewed tonight align this bylaw with the premises and concepts of trustee areas as opposed to at-large areas. And there's also a handful of words and phrases that just update to the current CSBA, California School Board Association template on this bylaw 9920.
Okay, board members, any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, I need a motion.
Wait, do we need to pick between option 1 and
Oh,
option 2 at the
I
end?
apologize. I apologize. This is discussion. This is a first reading. I apologize. Let's see here.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right. Option 1. So option 1 is candidates for the board may submit a candidate statement to the elections office official for inclusion in the voter's pamphlet. Candidate statements shall be limited to no more than 200 words. Option 2 is candidates for the board may submit a candidate statement to the elections official for inclusion in the voter's pamphlet. Candidate statements shall be limited to no more than 400 words. So in option 1 versus option 2, by the way, there's a higher cost for the candidates if you select option 2, because obviously there's more space and the county's going to charge you more for your ballot statement. Rachel.
For that reason, to make running for office more accessible to more people, I would like to propose that we go with option 1. I also would like to add that I thought it was really nice to see that they've added this electronic statement option as well for someone who, for whatever reason, doesn't choose to pay for the statement in the printed ballot, but does have a way to get their message to voters via the electronic one.
Got it. Now, so this isn't not an action item, so we just need to kind of get a nodding of the heads, which preference we would like to let staff know so that when it comes back at our next board meeting for second reading and approval, they've put down the correct option. So
I had another question too, Greg. There
Sure.
was something in it, I'm looking at it on screen and not finding exactly where it was, but there was a reference to if our elections were held in the odd years, not at the, the typical main election time, and then there was a provision for if something happened related to that, since our elections are held in the even years anyway, in the November timeframe, is it even necessary to have that in the policy?
Mr. Medici.
Excellent question, Trustee Hurd. This template or this recommended language did come directly from Lozano Smith. So I think my gut feeling says that kind of maximum flexibility under these bylaws is probably the preference. Although to your point, it's very unlikely that our elections shift, but I think simply having kind of the other alternate odd and even doesn't kind of invalidate the policy in the sense that I think it both can remain, but we're happy to update it to just reflect even years.
But would this language that really doesn't normally apply, would it come into effect if we had a vacancy, the board chose to fill the vacancy through an election? It's so far away, so a board member resigns in the middle of their term. It's so far away that we decide to call for an election, or we appoint, and the public under the Ed Code can force the board to call for an election regardless. That, in other words, you wouldn't have to wait 2 years, 3 years, almost 4 years out. We would have a special election. Would that
right? This was different than special election, Greg. This was a circumstance that if you had an election in a off schedule time and participation was really low, it could force you to move it to the even year. And so it really didn't apply, but that, like Greg said, there isn't any harm in keeping it there. It's just confusing.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Yes, Ken.
Yeah, I had one question on the same paragraph that maybe I was misreading it, and I understand what the question is here in terms of moving from odd year to even year on general elections. But I guess I was looking at the word consolidation a little differently. And this provide the opportunity, if wanted, to move all 5 elections onto the same schedule, so that instead of having an election every 2 years with either 2 or 3 members, all 5 members would be done every 4 years at once. Does that language also account for that kind of a change?
We can certainly find out Lozano Smith's perspective between now and action on the 26th. I think that there may be some other competing code-related items, Trustee Mintz, that actually have to do with the inability to have all 5 board members kind of regularly be on the same schedule, but I'm not positive. But we will ask Lozano Smith for their guidance around this consolidation word.
Okay, yeah, and I'm not suggesting we want to do something like that, but that was my first read when it talked about consolidation. So just wanted the clarification about that.
Okay, all right. Do I have a nodding of the heads that we want to direct staff to prepare option 1? Is there a nodding of the heads? I'm seeing a nodding of the heads. Okay, all right. We're doing option 1, folks. Again, this is not a vote because this is not an action item. All right, any further questions or comments from staff or board members on this item? Hearing none, we're moving on. Administrative reports, board members. Hearing none, I'm not hearing any comment. Oh, Rachel.
I would like to echo the remarks that Ken made earlier in the meeting regarding teacher appreciation. I would personally like to let all of our teaching staff know that I value and respect the work that you do, and I applaud the amazing efforts you have made to make the shift to remote learning. I also would like to applaud the efforts of our classified staff who have gone above and beyond during this crazy crisis time. So please know, and I think I can probably speak for all of us, we greatly appreciate our employees. I had one more item I wanted to talk about, and that was that we had a CCC SBA virtual meeting last Thursday. I'd like to thank Susanna and Ken for joining me on that. was the best attended one we've had in years. So we may be moving to a virtual environment because it makes it a lot easier for people to attend. And related to that, the lobbyist for CSBA, he's called the PACER, Gabe Weiss, has set up a meeting for CSBA representatives with Senator Glazer for Friday from 11 o'clock. And so I will be attending that, but if any of the other board members would like to sit in on the meeting, I can share the invitation if you want to get it.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. Any other comments from any other board members? Susanna?
Yeah, just like Rachel and Ken, and I'm sure everyone else, Brina, had an opportunity to do several virtual meetings. So as Rachel said, Ken and I were on there on the School Board Association meeting the other night, virtual. I also had opportunity to attend with a couple of our actual administrator and one of our counselors for a virtual meeting that Assembly Member Rebecca Bauer-Cahan had set up with UC Berkeley admissions officers. And we were there just to ask questions and make sure that the UCs are also holding our students harmless, those who are applying for this fall, the fall applicants on the grading system and things like that. So that was very interesting. And then one more virtual meeting with actually kind of a virtual town hall with Eric Swalwell, where he just wanted to know what's going on with the different districts. I hopped in and then actually sent him an email advocating for more funding on the state as well as federal level, because even before COVID-19 hit, I think funding has been, is a problem and will be, especially now. Again, also want to thank all of our certificated and classified employees. I think that just as Ken and Rachel had said, you guys are just awesome at how you've moved so quickly from traditional teaching and student experience to kind of online, and of course our classified employees doing all they can with all different areas of child nutrition to cleaning, our custodial services and everything. And I think that besides me, I think that I've talked to a lot of parents and students, and how I think sometimes in the past, we thought, oh, it's teaching. We can kind of have the kids home, and we can kind of help teach along. And I think that many parents and students are finding out that how valuable our teachers and classified employees are in their lives. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you. Ken?
Yeah, I think like everyone else, virtual meetings is my life right now. And I want to second a couple of comments that Rachel and Susanna made in terms of some of the meetings that we've been attending lately, and really focus in. I had the opportunity to attend the meeting with Eric Swalwell as well, one with Steve Glazer, and I really want the public to understand how much we are as a board focusing on delivering a message of advocacy about our public education to our elected officials at both state and federal level. We're moving into a really serious time financially, and it's really important that we deliver that message to our elected officials who have some say in the purse strings that affect what we're able to accomplish. And I just want folks to know that we're doing everything that we can to deliver that message at both of those levels of government. Additionally, this past week, I had the opportunity, it was mentioned quickly before, in sitting in two meetings with our students. One was what we call our student advisory meeting last Wednesday, where we met with about 30 kids online, high school students, listening to their concerns and issues and answering their questions. And there's really good dialogue with a number of our administrators. On Thursday, we had our question and answer session strictly for kids. I think we had about 150 online. The joke was that it was 10 o'clock. We probably would have had a whole lot more if they weren't asleep. But it was a worthwhile session. I think we had over 270 questions in advance from them. And I want to thank our administrative staff for the great job they did in preparing for those and being able to answer a lot of the concerns that are on the minds of our students. So really appreciate the opportunity to participate in those. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark.
Yeah, I just want to recognize the environment we're in. It's very surreal and it's difficult. I spend my days running from room to room for the last 2 months in my house, trying to outrun the noise. You got kids, you got the wife, you got the dogs, you got outside noises constantly permeating into your workspace. So I just want to recognize that it's difficult. And we've all taken our share of criticism through these last couple of months. And sometimes that's okay. Iron strengthens iron. And I truly believe San Ramon Valley Unified School District is made of iron. That's why I live here. That's why my kids are going through these schools. So I've said it personally, but I just can't say it enough. Thank you to every single person connected to these schools, from the professionals who are securing our facilities, to the professionals teaching our kids remotely now, to the professionals who are supporting our teachers in every capacity, to the administrative staffs at each of our sites, to the administrative staffs in the district level. I cannot tell you how proud I am to be part of this district and how lucky I am that my kids are going through it. Thank you.
Yeah. So yes, I echo those comments. I also attended the student advisory virtual meeting with the leadership kids in the district. Invaluable feedback that we got from, let's face it, they're our customers, and they're telling us how we're doing as a vendor delivering services to them. And most were very complimentary, but they also made some suggested changes. So course corrections, as I call it. And I think that was an absolutely incredible and invaluable experience. I also want to thank our certificated and our classified staff as well. They have stepped up to the plate, done a phenomenal job to continue to provide a high quality education for our kids in the most trying of times imaginable, as we come up with new ways to deliver the quality instructional program. It's difficult, but every single one of them have stepped up. I use the old analogy of a tree. Every educational experience, what we're doing as educators, either teachers or classified employees supporting the educational mission, we're planting a tree that for the next generation, and it's going to grow into this beautiful shade tree at some point. Some of us won't be there to take advantage of the shade, but we're building for the future. And that's what each and every one of our classified and certificated staff and our administrators are doing. They're helping to build this forest, if you will, of trees that are going to provide wonderful shade in the future years to come, in the future decades to come. So you're doing a phenomenal job, each and every one of you. And the staff, bar none, is number one in the state as far as I'm concerned. And the parents need to know that. I also have said previously, and I say it again for those that are watching, we need feedback from you on how we're doing in this virtual environment as we're trying to deliver education. Feedback is absolutely critical. We got it from the high school leadership group last week. We need to get it from parents as well. So feedback is welcome. Talk to your teachers, talk to your local site administrators if you want to provide feedback. So thank you so much for everybody. Superintendent, any comments?
Just briefly, same theme. Thank you, trustees, for recognizing our families, our staff, our kids. And I want to give a virtual hug to all of our staff. Already been mentioned tonight, these extraordinary times call for extraordinary leaders, and I appreciate that. It's been difficult at times. We found moments to laugh, but I know it's not easy. Thank you very much. I also want to give a shout out, as you've heard from all our trustees, to our students, elementary students, middle school students. Thank you for finding new ways to learn. Thanks for digging deep into your patient DNA. These are not easy times, but I appreciate the fact that you're trying to find the silver linings in all of this. This too will pass. I also want to give a shout out to the 30 high school leaders who participated with trustees and district leaders, and they were amazing. They asked really hard questions. They wanted to know about what next year may look like. They really had questions about college for the seniors. They fully knew that many of them wouldn't be able to go away to college, something they've been thinking about for some of them for many, many years. I love the sense that I got to hear from kids again. I hadn't done that in quite some time, and had a great day because I got to hear from kids and talk directly to students. So that was fun. And then, as mentioned by others, we had approximately 150 high school students participate in a Zoom meeting with us. They submitted 277 questions, common themes, graduation, credits, grading, what next year is going to look like. Sports was a big topic for kids. What's going to happen to my speech debate team next year? Really fun to be able to get real with them and talk about hope, but also talk about the reality of what the fall may look like. I also want to reach out to our parent leaders before I talk about all our parents. Our parent leaders, our PTA leaders, our Ed Fund leaders. We've been on multiple calls with all of you. Thank you. We need your leadership more than ever. And to all of our parents, I am an empty nester, so I really don't think I understand. I heard what Mark Jewett said about trying to work in this new environment, learn in this new environment, and that's real. I don't know what that's like because like I said, my kids are up and out, but I participated in 100 plus meetings, maybe 200 plus, and I've seen kids on laps. I've seen kids crying. I've seen parents admonishing kids on the record in front of hundreds. I've seen kids in the foreground, kids in the background, all while parents are trying to conduct meetings and work. So I do understand. Thanks, moms and dads and grandparents and aunts and uncles for helping us get there. And then lastly, trustees, none of the leadership happens without you. You're extraordinary in everyday times, but these are times where we need your input and your time. We've had some of the longest conversations. We've had closed sessions that go on 3+ hours. We need your input. I appreciate that. I know our community recognizes your value and your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, nice way to end the meeting. Nothing else before this board. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.